I'm Kumar Satyarth. I am smart contract developer at Puffer Finance. Sorry for the trouble, some glitch, right? Technical issues. Since this is a lightning talk, I won't be able to cover everything, the technical perspective and everything, but this should be enough to give you the motivation and the idea about the preconf and the rollups and inclusion and execution, right? So next 10 minutes are about one idea. Whenever someone says like rollup has preconfirmation, what are they actually talking about? So I'll show you there are two different kinds, and one of them is the actually that should matter to the users. So based rollups have a very beautiful property. So they use Ethereum's own validator instead of centralized sequencer, like similar how Arbitrum or Solana use. So you don't trust a centralized sequencer, but you trust the same set which is already running on the L1. But you have to pay the price for L1, which is the clock. That is the 12 seconds problem. So 12 seconds per block. So 12 seconds is fine for if you're sending, let's say, ETH to your friend, but it's a disaster for a trader, arbitrager, or liquidator, or let's say, very importantly, cross-chain solvers. So in 12 seconds, price drifts, market can move before the execution lands, so bots compete against each other and waste gas. And importantly, the cross-chain solvers can't simply commit to fulfilling the intent because they don't know what the state is going to be at the end, right? So the real question is, can we make based rollup feel fast without giving up the decentralization? That is the interesting at the first place. So yeah, the answer is pre-confirmation. So, but this is the place where most people get it wrong because they don't know what are the kinds. So there are two kinds of preconf. So you can see inclusion preconf and execution preconf. So inclusion is simple. It says, hey, I will include your transaction in some block. That's it. That's inclusion. Execution says, hey, I will include your transaction in the block. That's for sure. But I will guarantee that I will produce exact state what you asked for. Exact balance, this exact price fill, and this exact output. So the way I think in a way is like inclusion is more like, hey, I will deliver this envelope. But execution is, hey, I will deliver this envelope, and I will make sure that the check inside will clear for the right amount. So, but for but for the user who is just interacting with the wallet, it just says confirm. He doesn't need to know any of these. So. But why inclusion alone is not enough? So let me make that more concrete. So let's say you swap one ETH for, let's say, 3,000 USDC. You get an inclusion preconf, wallet says, hey, the transaction is confirmed, right? But between that promise and the actual block, somebody else swap lands ahead of your transaction. So the price of the pool moves, and your demand get fills at, let's say, 229.50, right? So you basically lost $50 here. So inclusion was honored because it says, hey, I have already included your transaction in the block. That's it. It is, but it doesn't guarantee that, hey, you will get your 3,000 ETH exactly in your wallet. So with inclusion, you can see there are three key limitations. So which is like ordering, execution, and outcome. So in inclusion, MEV and sandwich attacks are very possible, and the cross-chain solvers can't price the risk of, let's say, releasing your funds on the destination chain because they don't know, right? Because they don't know what will be the state on the source. So they can't promise. So that's the gap between inclusion and execution, which we are talking. So how does this execution preconf actually get made? So there's a piece of infrastructure that is called gateway. So if you know, if you have heard of Gattaca, so Gattaca is the most public example. And here's the flow, how it works. So basically, user submits intent, hey, I want to swap this much of ETH with this much of USDC. So transaction signed and execution requirements are given. Second, the proposer delegates. So the gateway has a delegation from whoever L1 proposer is for this slot. So it's not an auction, right? So the proposer basically hands over the key for that slot. The gateway signs on the behalf of the proposer. So gateway is the one who is doing all the heavy work. So the three is the the gateway basically simulates the transaction and signs the execution commitment. So hey, this is the transaction, and I have signed it, and give their signature, preconf signature, back to the user. And the wallet basically shows you, hey, this is final, done. So the fourth is like block lands on L1. If L1 doesn't match what gateway promised, so yeah, anyone in the room can go and, hey, submit a relic proof to slashing contract, and anyone can do and slash the proposer or gateway. So, but the gateway doesn't make you wait 12 seconds. Where does that 12 seconds go, right? You are still getting the confirmation in milliseconds. So to find out what happens, so while it's building the block, the gateway is building the block, it sends you tiny pieces of it every 10 seconds. So it's right now the research is going on and decreasing the time. But yeah, each piece is signed, and they are called frags. Frags are like basically fragmentation blocks. So as a user, you feel like you are interacting with just a centralized exchange. Updates, you get updates in the real time, and you are not sitting there and hitting refresh button every time. So when the full block lands on L1 12 seconds later, because obviously it is going to be settled on L1, so it's all just all those frags or pieces stitched together. So yeah, this is how it works. But none of these works without consequences. So Gateway has the skin in the game. They have put the ETH in restaked ETH on eigenlayer. So if you know, eigenlayer is a restaking protocol. So if they break execution preconf, so that ETH gets burned, right? And the way anybody can prove that they broke the is with relic protocol. So this relic protocol basically generates on-chain proof, and yeah, so anyone can do in this room can submit basically the subproof, and you don't need any referee or central entity to decide whose fault is this. So basically, the math is the one who's deciding, and the slashing contract is the one which is deciding. So promises are only strong as the bond behind them. So it's like playing a good key feature in the economic security because you are holding the ETH, right? So that's the whole point. And there are two ways the gateway can fail. So gateway can also fail. So there are two ways. One is the liveliness fault. So let's say you promise your transaction will be included, but you didn't deliver, right? So it's annoying. You retry. But you are still getting slashed, but very small slash. Second is the safety fault. This is the big one. So you included your transaction. They included your transaction, but the state is not what they guaranteed. So now they are breaking the promise here, right? It's not they are not including, it's they are breaking the promise. So that's the worst way you want to witness. So you thought like you will get $3,000 instead of for let's say 1 ETH, but now you are getting 2,950. So basically you are getting like less amount. So safety faults carry much heavier slash. So in this case, this gateway will be slashed heavier. So slash also has to be hurt more than gateway can ever gain by MEV, and basically they want to cheat, they can't because they have to put more ETH restaked. So yeah, we have to make sure that the MEV upside is used, and if the bond is small and MEV upside is used, so they are going to cheat. So we need to make sure that the collateral is used, right? So basically, what this provides for actual users, what do you get? So first is swapping on DEX. Let's say you are doing a trade, so you get exactly the price what you have promised. So gateway signs it, money is on the line because they have already restaked. Other protocols can still be there around, like swapping and doing stuff, but your fill is locked. If it is guaranteed you will get 3,000 USDC, you are going to receive it, right? And the second one is important one, which is for cross-chain solver bridge, right? So for them, speed is everything. So with execution preconf, basically you get the signed proof of what is going to happen on source chain in milliseconds, not 12 seconds. So I think this is a good use case for cross-chain solvers and bridges. So yep, and but this comes as a honest trade-off. So let's say, be honest what you are trading. So you are putting a trusted role, the gateway inside it, and back into the system where you designed to remove the trusted role, right? So you are still putting a central entity gateway inside it. So what execution preconf give you is a gateway whose trust is bounded by economic slashing. So you are getting economic security and not by reputation or hope. So that's not like a L1 trust model. And that's also not a centralized sequencer, right? You are actually getting economic security here. So it's a third thing. And it's the only design I have seen in the, let's say, that gets a DeFi level speed and the L1 security guarantee with economic security. So next time someone tells you that, hey, our rollup has got pre-confirmation, so don't stop there. Please ask and find out what is the on stake, what is the bond, and what is the mechanism of slashing, and with what proof system. So find out what is get slashed when they are wrong, right? So lastly, I would say ask the question that actually matters. So do you promise the block or do you promise the state? Thank you.